Hey everyone, and welcome to Speedb Basics, where today I'm going to be talking about the proactive flushing feature. Thanks for watching, everyone. As you can tell, today I am recording this video outside, if for no other reason than it's a very nice day. The flowers are blooming, and I figured it'd be a nicer backdrop than the inside of my office. So before we get started, there's some concepts within RocksDB that you're going to need to know in order to properly understand this feature. More specifically, Memtables, flushing, write buffer manager. If you're not familiar with these concepts, please visit the links in the description below, where it should give you the information you need to understand what I'll be talking about today, which is the proactive flushing feature. Now that I can assume that you're up to speed, so to speak, on what flushing, memtables, write buffer managers are and how they work, let's talk about how flushing works in RocksDB. So as you might know, there's a configuration in RocksDB to limit both the size of each memtable as well as the overall size of all of the memtables and column families as a whole. This is, of course, to manage memory so that when it starts to get too full, the data is flushed to disk, freeing up space. So let's generally talk about how this write and flush process works in RocksDB. So every time a write happens, the WBM, or write buffer manager, is asked if the limits have been reached, making a flush necessary. If the WBM responds yes, the flush is initiated, and behind the scenes, RocksDB flushes the oldest mem table, freeing up space to continue accepting new writes. And this works totally fine in most use cases. But not all use cases, because as we know, many applications use more than one database. And with RocksDB, this multiple database scenario presents three main issues. The first one is that when the WBM says a flush is needed, it's only aware of the database that it's currently being written to. So when this database asks the WBM, should I perform a flush, it's responding only about that particular database. And any other databases in your instance are inactive and not being paid attention to by the WBM. So no matter how well you've configured your RocksDB instance, it's going to be acting on limited information, which is a problem because the current database being written to may choose to flush memtables that are generally smaller than in other databases. So, for example, the amount of space freed up on the active database by 3 smaller memtables might be freed by flushing 1 large memtable in a different database. And this is going to lead to more flushes than necessary happening, which is more performance impact. Also, these inactive databases and column families may be experiencing degradation in their performance due to constrained resources, aka starvation. So even a flush in the active database won't help performance as much as it could. The second issue along these lines is a little bit more straightforward. It is in the choice of the memtables to flush. So RocksDB by default flushes the memtables in the active database that are oldest first. And so, as I mentioned before, this isn't going to be an overly sophisticated or efficient way to choose because some of the newer databases may be larger and require less flushes. The third reason is with the WBM only paying attention to one database at a time, it means that if multiple of databases are receiving this data separately, each one of them may be flushing at the same time. So they may have all talked to the WBM, which said to flush the 3 different databases, and all of these flushes are happening at the same time, which is going to be more of a performance impact than was anticipated. So that's why Speedb added the proactive flushing feature. It improves the flushing process in 3 key ways. As you might have guessed from the name, it flushes the memtables proactively. So now in Speedb, the WBM has a new internal thread that will wake up whenever it needs to initiate new flushes. So quotas and other tuning can still be set as usual, but the database will no longer be calling the WBM after each write. It's going to be happening proactively. Secondly, the memtables chosen to flush will not only be chosen by age. There is now a setting in the WBM specifying a minimum size for memtables to be candidates for flushing, and this will get the largest amount of data out of the way first, which causes less flushes to happen less frequently. And also, in order to combat starvation on individual databases, memtables will be cleaned out of databases running at a high capacity that are experiencing starvation or stress in that way. Thirdly, multiple databases can be registered with the WBM now. So when the WBM decides that a flush needs to be made, it actually iterates across all of the registered databases, requesting each one to flush memtables that exceed the minimum size limit. Even better, all of these flushes will happen in parallel, with the WBM keeping track of how much memory is freed so it knows when the quota has been reached. But as you may remember earlier, too many flushes happening at the same time in parallel can be very bad for performance. And so the good news here is that the improved WBM will proactively limit the number of concurrent flushes across all of the databases and column families for a less extreme impact on performance. So what does this mean in the real world? Well, let's use a benchmark as an example here. And so we're going to run this feature across 3 databases, experiencing writes. And of course, as the writes build up and the memtables grow and grow, a flush is going to be initiated. And so what we should expect to see is less flushes happening less often, which provides higher performance because it is a less severe impact when these flushes happen. And so as you can see in this chart, that's exactly what's happening. With RocksDB, the performance is generally lower in terms of number of operations, but also there are much more flushes happening where the Speedb line is thinner because we've improved that efficiency with having less flushes in order to keep things running at an even speed. So that is the proactive flushing feature in Speedb. I hope this video made sense. If you have any questions, or even if you don't, please come find us in our community at our Discord, where you're going to find RocksDB, Speedb developers to answer any of your questions. You can get guidance. You can talk about ideas. It's a great place to go to find people who are also working on similar projects. And check out the description below. There's going to be links to other places to find out more information about Speedb, our website. We run webinars and, of course, our YouTube channel. But until next time, I hope to see you in our community.